In the stillness of the night, the soft rustle of leaves whispers secrets only the wind can carry. You stand in a moonlit glade, clutching a tattered toy, a small wooden boat, intricately carved by your father's loving hands. The laughter and warmth of your village fade into an unsettling hush as dark figures approach, their silhouettes cutting through the light like shadows of doom. The air thickens with dread, and as the chilling realization sets in, your heart races, echoing the distant, thundering hooves of fate. Before we plunge into this haunting narrative, take a moment to support this journey through history. If you're captivated by the hidden truths of our past, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. This shared curiosity about history connects us across continents, uniting us in our quest for understanding. The village lay nestled in the heart of Bulgaria, a tranquil place where the mornings were marked by the gentle bleating of sheep and the sweet aroma of freshly baked bread. Children ran barefoot through the fields, laughter ringing out like music, their innocence untouched by the harsh realities of the world. But in the shadows, dark forces were at work, and the echoes of laughter soon morphed into cries of despair. On that fateful night, the Sultan's collectors came, their approach as stealthy as a predator stalking its prey. Clad in rich silks and adorned with the insignia of authority, they descended upon the village as if summoned by fate itself. The villagers knew the signs. There was no point in hiding. They had seen this before, too many times. "Keep quiet, children," a mother whispered, her voice trembling as she held her youngest tightly against her chest. "Do not attract their attention." But silence was futile. A boy of only 10, innocent and unaware, stood frozen in fear, clutching his cherished boat. His wide eyes reflected the moonlight, but they also caught a glimpse of the encroaching darkness. The laughter that had filled his days was about to be replaced by a silence so profound it could swallow whole the very essence of his childhood. As the collectors dismounted, the air grew heavy with despair. They carried scrolls and long lists, their eyes scanning the gathered villagers with the cold calculation of merchants appraising livestock. The boy, feeling the weight of their gaze, instinctively stepped back, his heart pounding in his ears like a war drum. "Take him," one of the officials commanded, pointing directly at the boy. "He will serve the Sultan." His mother fell to her knees, her pleas puncturing the air like arrows of desperation. "Please, no, he is just a child. He is my son." Her voice cracked, but the collectors were unmoved, their hearts as cold as the stone beneath their feet. "Silence, woman," another collector barked, his tone final. "You will not defy the Sultan's will." As the boy was torn from her grasp, he heard her sobs fading into the distance, a haunting melody of loss that would echo in his heart for years to come. Promises of grandeur filled his ears, words like honor and service that felt like chains rather than wings. The cart rolled away, taking him from everything he had ever known, and in that moment, the boy understood the cruel truth of his new reality. The journey to Istanbul was no simple task. The boys were herded like cattle, their spirits crushed beneath the weight of fear and uncertainty. They marched for weeks, the rugged terrain testing their frail bodies. Inadequately fed and sleeping in crude shelters, the weak ones were left behind, their cries mingling with the wind, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life. The boy soon learned the first lesson of his new existence. Survival belonged to the strong. He watched as a boy beside him, a mere 14 years old, fell ill, his body succumbing to exhaustion. The guards had no mercy. They dragged the frail boy away, their laughter mingling with his desperate pleas. The boy squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the sound of his suffering, but the lesson was indelible. Escape was impossible. Resistance meant death. With each passing day, the daunting silhouette of Istanbul loomed closer, its skyline a cruel juxtaposition of beauty and dread. The minarets reached for the heavens, but all the boy could feel was the weight of despair pressing down upon him, a stone lodged in his gut. This magnificent city, which should have represented hope, instead symbolized everything he had lost. Upon arrival, the boys faced their first selection, a humiliating process where Ottoman officials divided them based on perceived potential. The officials examined their bodies with the detachment of art appraisers, their hands cold and clinical against warm skin. The most beautiful and intelligent were destined for the palace school, while others would find themselves in the ranks of the janissaries, the elite military corps. As the boy stood in line, he felt the warmth of his childhood slipping away, replaced by a chilling recognition of the price of survival. The journey had only just begun, but the shadows of his past were already fading, leaving behind a haunting void. In the heart of the palace, the echoes of lost innocence would soon become the foundation of a new, twisted existence, laying the groundwork for years of suffering that would be hidden behind the grand walls of power. The boy's fate was sealed, and with it, the haunting silence of forgotten innocence would echo through the corridors of time, waiting to be uncovered. As dawn creeps over Istanbul, the first rays of light illuminate the grand silhouette of Topkapi Palace, its ornate minarets piercing the sky like fingers grasping for freedom. You stand at the gateway, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and oppression, a beautiful facade that masks the horrors lying within. The weight of expectation rests heavily on your shoulders, and the laughter of your childhood feels like a distant dream, replaced by urgent whispers of survival and deception. Before we dive deeper into this intricate narrative, your support is invaluable. If you find yourself intrigued by these hidden stories of history, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I'd love to hear where you're joining us from. It's fascinating how our shared curiosity about the past connects us across time and space. Inside the palace, the atmosphere is thick with a blend of opulence and despair. Marble corridors gleam in the soft light, but the beauty is merely a mask, concealing the grim reality of life within these walls. Boys of various ages shuffle through the halls, their faces pale and drawn, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. Laughter, once a natural sound in their lives, has been replaced with a palpable silence, broken only by the hurried footsteps of guards and the low murmurs of older students who have long since learned the unspoken rules of survival. "Stay close, Mehmet," a voice whispers urgently. It belongs to Amir, a boy who has been in the palace for 3 years, his features hardened by the trials of palace life. "Do not draw attention to yourself. The officials are watching." Mehmet nods, feeling the weight of his new name, a name that strips away his identity, his past. It is a reminder that he is no longer the boy who played by the river, but a mere pawn in a game of power. The rituals of induction into palace life are chilling, a series of trials designed to weed out the weak and establish dominance among the boys. The first lesson is taught in the grand assembly hall, where the air is heavy with the scent of incense and the echoes of whispered prayers. The boys are gathered, their hearts racing as they await the arrival of the officials. A tall man, adorned in silk robes that shimmer like water under moonlight, strides into the room, commanding immediate attention. His eyes scan the crowd, calculating and cold. "Welcome, young ones," he begins, his voice smooth as honey but laced with menace. "You have been chosen to serve the Sultan. Your education will be rigorous, your dedication unwavering. You will learn languages, mathematics, and the arts. But remember, knowledge is power, and power comes at a price." The words hang in the air, a chilling reminder that while they may gain knowledge, they will lose something far more precious: innocence. The boys are soon divided into groups, each assigned a mentor, an older student who has mastered the art of manipulation. These mentors, often victims themselves, become the enforcers of the palace's harsh realities, perpetuating a cycle of abuse and exploitation. In the dimly lit dormitories, the boys lie awake at night, their minds racing with fear and longing for home. The soft sobbing of homesick children mingles with the whispered conversations about survival tactics, the unspoken agreements forged in the shadows. They learn quickly that kindness is a liability, and vulnerability can be fatal. "Do not trust anyone," Amir warns as they huddle together on their narrow beds. "Everyone here has an agenda. The ones who seem friendly are often the most dangerous. The palace is a labyrinth of marble corridors, and every turn leads to another reminder of their captivity. The walls, adorned with intricate mosaics, depict tales of valor and conquest, yet they bear witness to the silent screams of countless boys who have traversed these halls. The lessons continue, each day a new trial that tests their bodies and spirits. One afternoon, they are summoned to the courtyard, where a group of officials observes them like hawks circling their prey. The boys are lined up, forced to demonstrate their skills in front of the very men who hold their fates in their hands. The pressure mounts, and those who falter are met with swift punishment, a reminder that failure is not an option. "Perform well, and you may earn privileges," one official announces, his voice dripping with condescension. "Fail, and you will find yourself in the lowest ranks, subjected to the whims of those who came before you." Mehmet feels his heart race as he steps forward, trembling under the weight of the gaze fixed upon him. He recites verses of poetry, his voice shaking, but he knows it is a performance that could either open doors or seal his fate. The officials nod, their expressions inscrutable, but the moment feels suffocating, as if the air itself is pressing down on him. As the days turn into weeks, Mehmet begins to understand the twisted nature of palace life. Education is a facade, a means to an end, where knowledge becomes a tool for manipulation rather than enlightenment. The boys are taught to navigate a treacherous landscape, where every interaction is a calculated move in a game of survival. Even as they learn to read and write exotic languages, their spirits are dulled, their laughter silenced. The palace, once a symbol of grandeur, transforms into a mirror reflecting their despair. Each polished surface reveals not just their faces, but the echoes of their lost identities, trapped in a relentless cycle of power and submission. As twilight descends upon the palace, the marble corridors grow darker, shadows lengthening like the secrets buried within its walls. Mehmet stands alone, staring into a polished surface, seeing not just his reflection, but the countless boys who have come before him, their dreams extinguished in the pursuit of imperial glory. The chilling realization settles in. This place, meant to mold them into refined servants of the empire, has instead become a prison, a breeding ground for manipulation and despair. The palace holds its secrets close, and as Mehmet walks away, he can't shake the feeling that the true horror lies not just in what he has lost, but in what he has yet to endure. In the dim glow of a single candle, shadows flicker across the walls, weaving tales of boys long forgotten. You stand in the heart of the palace, feeling the weight of history pressing down on you, the air thick with memories of laughter that once filled these halls. As the candlelight dances, it illuminates the faces of those who came before, young boys, stripped of their innocence, whose stories have faded into silence beneath the grandeur of the Ottoman Empire. Before we delve into this haunting legacy, your engagement is crucial. If you find yourself drawn to these untold stories, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I'm curious to know where you're watching from. It's remarkable how our collective interest in history connects us across continents, uniting us in the quest for understanding. As the sun sets over Istanbul, casting long shadows that stretch like memories across the palace grounds, the weight of the past hangs heavily in the air. The empire, once a formidable force, now finds itself in decline, yet the echoes of its power resonate through the lives of those who survived its harsh realities. Within the walls of Topkapi Palace, the boys who were once forced to serve have grown into men, yet the scars of their youth remain etched within their souls. Among them is Ahmed, a man who now holds a position of influence in the empire's administration. He recalls his early days in the palace, the cold marble floors beneath his bare feet, and the haunting whispers of older boys that echoed through the corridors. "You must learn to navigate these treacherous waters," one had told him, his voice a blend of urgency and fear. "Trust no one, for loyalty is a commodity here." But as Ahmed ascends the ranks, he becomes painfully aware of the price of power. He remembers the faces of those who didn't make it, boys who were swallowed by the system, their dreams extinguished before they could truly begin. Each promotion brings him closer to the very practices he once sought to escape. "Do you remember the boy who tried to escape?" Ahmed asks a fellow administrator, his voice heavy with regret. "They brought him back, broken, a warning for all of us. We are all prisoners in this gilded cage. The palace's internal economy, once a tool for survival, has morphed into a mechanism of oppression. The very abilities that Ahmed developed to protect himself, manipulation, charm, and cunning, now serve to perpetuate the cycle of exploitation." As he sits in the opulent council chambers, surrounded by men who share his history, he grapples with the moral complexities of his position. "Power is a double-edged sword," one elder remarks, his gaze penetrating. "We were once the prey, but now we must ensure that the cycle continues, lest we become targets ourselves. The realization is unsettling. The boys who once sought freedom within these walls have become architects of their own oppression, perpetuating the very system that sought to dehumanize them. The palace, a place of learning and opportunity, has transformed into a breeding ground for manipulation and despair. Through the stories of men like Ahmed, the narrative unfolds, revealing the chilling legacy of a system that commodified innocence. As the years pass, those who survive the palace's harsh realities often find themselves trapped in a cycle of abuse, unable to break free from the very chains that once bound them. The laughter of youth gives way to the cold calculations of adulthood, as survival demands loyalty to a system that thrives on exploitation. In the quiet corners of the palace, the whispers of the past linger, reminding the survivors of their lost childhoods. They gather in hushed tones, sharing stories of those who vanished, boys whose names were erased from history, their fates sealed by the unforgiving machinery of the empire. "Do you think they remember us?" one man asks, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you think anyone cares about the boys we used to be?" Ahmed can only shake his head, a deep sense of melancholy settling in his chest. The empire's grandeur overshadows their suffering, and as the sun dips below the horizon, he feels the weight of their silence pressing upon him. The candle flickers once more, casting shadows that dance in the corners of the room, a reminder of the boys who once filled these spaces with laughter and hope. The echoes of their dreams reverberate through time, urging Ahmed and his contemporaries to confront the painful truths of their past. Yet, as the night deepens, a sense of foreboding creeps in. The empire may be in decline, but the echoes of its power continue to resonate, intertwining with the lives of those who once served. The ghosts of the past linger, demanding recognition and remembrance, challenging the survivors to face the legacy they have inherited. As Ahmed gazes into the flickering candlelight, he is struck by a haunting realization. The cycle of silence and survival persists, and the stories of those boys will remain locked within the palace walls until someone dares to speak their truth. The shadows dance, and in the depths of night, the weight of history feels heavier than ever, urging us all to confront the legacies of power and despair that echo across generations.